Making the mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't fret over every egg.
Tonally, Metal Gear Rising is all over the place. At times it's very lighthearted and fun, and at other times it gets really dark and takes itself incredibly seriously. But the second Senator Armstrong walks on screen, it's almost like the game gets sucked into another dimension, completely cut off from the rest of the game.
How the hell did you get elected?
Well, I don't write my own speeches.
This final section of the game that includes Armstrong is just insane, and it ends up being the most memorable and enjoyable part of the whole experience. But let's step back a bit. Armstrong is only shown once before your encounter with him in a recording that Raiden finds while investigating a laboratory in Mexico. It exposes his involvement in two schemes with the PMC's World Marshal Incorporated and Desperado Enforcement. The first is Operation Tecumseh, and the second is the Sears program. Let's start with Operation Tecumseh. Armstrong's goal is to get elected as the President of the United States in the 2020 election. To ensure this happens, Armstrong plans to start a war with Pakistan under false pretenses by assassinating the current President of the United States while he's in their country and pinning it on local extremists. By starting this war, he hopes to reignite the war economy and pull America out of the recession it's been in since the fall of SOP and the Patriots at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4. Armstrong believes that America's been wanting a war to get behind for a long time, partly due to the cultural impact the Patriots had. So his plan is to play on people's hunger for war as a way to get them on his side and win the election. This leads into the Sears program. As a way to fan the flames of war, Armstrong is involved in a bizarre plot to create ruthless cyborg soldiers by kidnapping children off the streets and harvesting their brains to stick in a virtual reality training program based off the techniques of Solidus Snake in the Liberian Civil War. Yeah. In the recording I mentioned earlier, Armstrong and one of his partners in crime, Sundowner, are inspecting one of the labs where they've been removing the brains of children and placing them in cyborg head casings. Sundowner comments that they need to close down shop because of someone snooping around, even though the lab hasn't finished operating on all of the children they have captive. That's when Armstrong suggests that they just send what they have and kill the kids they have left, claiming that they're just burdens on society and that he's doing the world a service.
Last I checked, children weren't exactly rare in the part of the world. Millions of them, in fact. You can get more once we set up a new lab. They lead lives of hunger and pain. We're performing a service here for them and the cities they burden.
Well, it's up to Raiden to put a stop to both Operation Tecumseh and the Sears program, and while he's successful in ending the latter, putting a stop to Operation Tecumseh proves to be a bit more complicated. Once he arrives at the base the president is supposed to be arriving in, he finally meets Armstrong, who erupts out of the ground piloting a Metal Gear. I'm not quite sure how this thing got underground, but it's there. It's implied that Armstrong beat up Raiden's partner Blade Wolf moments before this, which means he then immediately took off for his underground Metal Gear just to burst out of the ground in the exact same place. The funny thing about it isn't even an actual Metal Gear, it's only called that for marketing purposes.
It's not nuclear equipped, but Metal Gear is still in the product name.
Fancy. That's just a PR thing then, huh?
After talking a bit about his plan that I went through before, Armstrong reveals that the president's plane has already turned back for the States in response to photos of the incident that leaked online, presumably under Armstrong's orders. He decided that he really didn't have to kill the president to achieve his goals. Instead of framing extremists for the assassination of the president, he would just frame them for killing the American soldiers on the base that he had already had killed. And this would be enough of a spark to get Americans to call for war. But he's still gotta dispose of Raiden because he can't have him running his mouth in public about what really happened. This leads into a battle against Excelsus, which is honestly a pretty forgettable fight overall. The most memorable part about it is that Armstrong's smack-talking Raiden the whole time.
Ashes to ashes, motherfucker! So you like playing hide and seek, you little bitch? Like my ride? Worth every penny. Uncle Sam needs to die, Jack. Fear the wrath of the USA!
Even after you've sliced Excelsus to bits, Armstrong still has a few tricks up his sleeve. And by tricks, I mean superpowers.
I don't have time for this.
Oh, you've gotta be kidding me!
Armstrong has the ability to absorb and store energy from anything around him. Armstrong was already a strong guy, which he credits to playing football in college, but with the energy of Excelsus stored in his body, he now has superhuman strength, allowing him to easily overpower even a cyborg like Raiden. Armstrong can manipulate the energy in his body to achieve various effects. For example, he can create massive shockwaves around him and even channel the energy into his limbs to hit harder. His body also has the ability to harden in response to physical trauma, allowing him to easily shrug off every hit Raiden lands on him even with his high-frequency blade. In fact, he snaps the thing in half.
Nice, nice.
In the Jetstream Sam DLC released shortly after the main game, Armstrong is shown to be able to levitate and throw around vehicles as he absorbs their energy. In the same DLC, Sam is able to quickly dismember Armstrong's arm before it can harden, but instead of severely crippling him, it only allows him to harden his arm to a sharp spear to deliver the decisive blow. And even after having his arm sliced clean off, he's able to casually reattach it with no effort. So how's he able to pull all of this off? Well, as he so eloquently puts it,
Nanomachines, son.
That's right, Armstrong has had his body infused with nanomachines, with his heart serving as the core of the system. This whole thing feels like self-parody. I mean, come on, he's literally made of nanomachines. The game becomes comical in these final cutscenes, but you aren't laughing at it, it knows how ridiculous it's being, and it's playing to that fact. Armstrong's hand movements are all accompanied by exaggerated swoosh sound effects, and he's kicking Raiden around like a football with the crowd cheering for him.
I'm not one of those beltway pansies. I could break the president in two with my bare hands. Don't fuck with this, Senator.
It's all just really weird fun. But there's still one question left unanswered. Why does Armstrong want to become president? Well, as he explains, it isn't for the money.
I do need capital and votes. Wanna know why? I have a dream.
What?
That one day, every person in this nation will control their own destiny. A land of the truly free, damn it. A nation of action, not words, ruled by strength, not committee.
Armstrong's plan is to get elected so that he can then destroy America and rebuild it in a way that he sees fit. He wants to create an America ruled by strength where the strong prevail and the weak are purged, where laws serve the strongest individuals instead of the masses and everyone is free to follow their own will. Basically, he has a might makes right philosophy and believes if you have strength, the establishment shouldn't be getting in the way of what you want to accomplish. He believes if you have the means to achieve something, you shouldn't be stopped in an effort to protect the weak, because if you're weak, you really have no worth. Armstrong is fueling the fires of war to get elected so that he can then end war as a means for making money. He wants everyone to be able to fight their own wars for what they actually believe in, not for things like oil or so others can make a profit. And he's doing all of this because he really hates the current state of the United States. There's obviously a ton of social commentary going on here.
Fuck all these lipstick lawyers and chicken shit bureaucrats. Fuck this 24/7 internet spew of trivia and celebrity bullshit. Fuck American pride. Fuck the media. Fuck all of it. America's diseased, rotten to the core. There's no saving it. We need to pull it out by the roots. Wipe the slate clean. Burn it down! And from the ashes, a new America will be born! Evolved, but unchanged!
What Armstrong didn't count on is that even in a world ruled by strength, some will choose to defend the weak. I've heard some people claim that Armstrong's actually the good guy in the story, which I think is a little strange. I mean, I can see people agreeing with Armstrong to a certain extent. You know, maybe you agree with the basis of his political ideology, but he's by no means a good guy. Sure, he may not be driven by being a huge sadist, but he's still closer to Vulcan than other Metal Gear Solid villains. In the same way you can sympathize with Solidus for wanting to put a stop to the Patriots, a manipulative shadow government made up of AIs who want to censor information from the public, you can sympathize with Armstrong for wanting to put a stop to the culture the Patriots left behind after their destruction. Wanting people to fight for what they believe in as well as wanting to stop wars simply as a means for profit are things we can all get behind. But wanting to create a nation where people can start more wars for whatever reasons they want to, harvesting the brains of children to create ruthless killers, instigating war just to get elected, burning America down and purging the weak so the strong can thrive unhindered, I think a lot of people just get caught up in how intense and over the top the action is in these scenes and how charismatic Armstrong is as a character that they only pick up on part of his message.
The weak will be purged, and the strongest will thrive, free to live as they see fit. They'll make America great again!
What the hell are you talking about?
You still don't get it. I'm using war as a business to get elected! So I can end war as a business. In my new America, people will die and kill for what they believe! Not for money, not for oil! Not for what they're told is right. Every man will be free to fight his own wars!
Well, this whole confrontation comes to a head when Raiden receives Jetstream Sam's blade to use in place of the one Armstrong snapped in half.
I think we're about done here.
Raiden.
In this final battle, Armstrong gives Raiden everything he's got. He channels energy into the ground to create giant walls of fire, dashes around at super speeds, and throws around giant pieces of debris. He even starts regenerating his health whenever you make a dent in his health bar, which is already twice as large as any other boss in the game. It's really hard not to get sucked into the energy of this fight. The music, setting, and heart-pumping action unfolding on screen, it's just awesome, and it actually lives up to the challenge you'd expect from a battle against this character. So many games nowadays hype up their final battles only to deliver a lackluster experience. All of his attacks hit hard, so hard in fact that at times he can knock Raiden's sword right out of his hands, forcing you to rely on his fists until you can grab it again. It's so cool that they actually created an entire unarmed fighting system just for when you lose your weapon. Eventually, thanks to Sam's powerful sword, Raiden is able to whittle down Armstrong's defenses and end the fight by going straight for the source of his powers. Recognizing his defeat, Armstrong commends Raiden for his victory, but before passing on, he claims that Raiden is his worthy successor. He respects how Raiden grew to be as strong as he is in the face of his childhood in which he was poor and weak, and he also respects his willingness to fight for what he believes in. Even though Raiden doesn't agree with Armstrong's ideals, he still wants Raiden to continue carving his own path. Remember, might makes right in Armstrong's eyes, so by defeating him, Raiden proves to Armstrong that he was wrong in this fight of ideology. With that, Raiden rips out Armstrong's mechanized heart and crushes it in his hand.
Deep inside, we're kindred spirits. You and I.
Interestingly enough, it seems that Raiden has actually taken Armstrong's advice after the events of the game. Once the credits roll, Raiden quotes Armstrong and claims that he has his own war to fight. We'll have to wait for a sequel to find out exactly what he means by that, but it's pretty obvious he plans on forging a better future in the best way he sees fit. So, that was Senator Armstrong, an incredibly charismatic man whose passion you can feel in every swing of his fists. You would have never guessed that this guy would be the final boss of the game. A ripped politician kicking ass while trying to keep his glasses on and keep his tie straight. He's an enigma of a man and an enigma of an ending, and I loved every second he was on screen. I would have liked to see him get more screen time, but at the same time I wouldn't want his surprise reveal at the end to be diluted because that's half of why the end of the game is such a curveball that garners 100% of your attention. Thankfully, he does appear again in that Jetstream Sam DLC I mentioned earlier, so if you're craving some more Armstrong beatdowns, that should suffice. We even get to learn he takes his ideology so seriously that he applies it to plants as well.
Cherry blossoms.
Yeah.
I take it you're not a fan?
No. They make me sick.
Armstrong is so over the top that you can't help but like him, but that doesn't mean you have to agree with his plan that's even more extreme than he is. Sorry Armstrong, if you wanted to realize your vision, your efforts would have been better served trying to build your own Rapture than trying to take on Raiden. Just letting you all know that I got a very positive reaction on my last video regarding Patreon, so I'm going through with it, and this is the very first video that's being supported by you guys. Thank you so much to everyone who's supporting the channel at this point and to anyone who starts supporting in the future. Every bit you guys contribute is appreciated. I'm working on something really big next, so stick around for that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Once the credits roll, Armstrong quotes Armstrong. Oh my god.